Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's football show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. It is Thursday. I'm Peter Martin. Great that you could join us on the programme. Thank you very much for your support on our YouTube channel. In the studio with me, as ever, Alan Rough and Tam Cowan this day to look back at last night's two crucial games for Rangers and Celtic and look ahead to a full card at the weekend. Okay, we start with the Brian Rice 10-game ban, 5 suspended. It's a blow. Is it the right penalty, Roughie?
Yeah, I think it is. In light of the other people who have been punished, I think Brian would be quite happy to that, get it out the road, get it done and dusted and move on in his career. I think he's been up front and open with everything that's happened, and I'm sure the club are obviously right behind him. So, yep, I think it's an episode in his career he'll want to get out the road.
Yeah, and over and above that, he has to follow a programme to show that he is making moves to try and, well, first of all, get the gambling addiction in check, stop it, and move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I was delighted there certainly wasn't any fine in terms of finance, which would be a bit bonkers given the very nature of his offence, i.e. presumably plunging quite a few quid into the bookies' satchels. But I do think, looking at the bigger picture, Peter, I've always said to this viewpoint that I think it is an absolute nonsense to ban people or for it to be illegal for football people to bet on football. If you're betting against your own team, absolutely go to town with them, get them sacked, get them out the club, get them out of football. But no, when you've got a situation, maybe a guy playing for Albion Rovers is lying on the couch one Wednesday night and he decides to have a fiver on Real Madrid in the Champions League. It is an absolute nonsense. But I hope, I think there's been you notice how the world is changing, Peter. There's been terrific support for Brian Rice, and I'm sure there'll continue to be support for Brian Rice. Once upon a time, people, maybe even myself, would have made jokes about something like this, but now you see the gambling addiction tied in maybe with mental health, and folk take a wee step back and they maybe think twice. So it would appear, with everything that I've heard and everything that we've read and everything that we've seen so far, that he almost couldn't have been at a better club for something like this to come to the fore, because his chairman and the owner of Hamilton Accies are backing their man to the hilt. So in the grand scheme of things, if it's 10 games suspension with 5 suspended, quite frankly, there's a way to try and get him back and give him a wee boost. If that means he doesn't have to watch Hamilton Accies for 5 games, then absolutely terrific. Put a wee smile on the boy's face.
Yeah, Chipper was watching, of course, St Johnstone Celtic last night. The one thing I would say, Roughie, is...
Did you ever have a chipper? Mind, it was before you get the chopper.
Yes,
the chipper was a wee one.
I had the tracker, which was a kind of a bike that was made to look like a chopper, but it was for poor people. Which is an
absolute... New York Hill thing.
Yeah, isn't it? Exactly that.
That was great in here.
I'm so glad you've nailed it there.
I only had the chopper.
Yeah, well, some things in life never change, exactly. So let's crack on.
You had plenty of bikes in older years, didn't you?
We were actually going to finish on one pertinent point here, Roughie, which is quite simply, I don't believe for a minute that, we're now in as Tam says, a situation where once there's a clamour, once there's a whole group of people who start to put their thoughts behind it, I think we're in a situation where now no gambling is acceptable. I think you should be allowed to bet on games out with your National League. Only because I don't.
So you would say it doesn't matter who you're betting on, but if you're in Scotland, you don't bet on anything Scottish.
Yes,
and you're free. That's quite sensible as well. I would go with that as well. Yeah,
and then just give them a chance. Listen, if you've got an addiction, you need help. If it's a poison like that, the big problem, and I think this is people taking the moral high ground here, and especially looking at it from the hypocrisy of the Scottish Premiership and other competitions, is quite simply the dam has burst. And now, in the next 2 or 3 years, they're going to be saying, stop the gambling on the shirts, stop the gambling sponsoring tournaments, and then Scottish football's in trouble because Neil Doncaster is going to have to find money from somewhere else, and he's going to be under severe pressure because there's not a lot of people out there saying, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million.
And I'll tell you, Peter, you're encouraging folk to gamble by being sponsored by all the bookies. I always go back to the wise man who observed many moons ago that when Celtic and Rangers were both sponsored by C.R. Smith, you didn't see kids rushing out to buy double glazing.
Yeah.
You know, so you need to have a line between the two.
Yeah, I don't think double glazing quite has a detrimental effect on your health, unless, of course, you take a heater through it. But other than that, we'll crack on with the 2 games last night. I have to say, Tam, there's nothing worse than heading up to Perth. The rain is battering down, and I make no bones about telling you this, right? The rain's battering down. There's an accident on the motorway, so we're delayed. I can't even get into the car park because some yellow jacket deems it too late for me to get into the car park, which has got countless spaces on it.
Right.
And then with the rain, walking with the gear to watch a game that it was like a one-horse race because Celtic could have been 7-0 up against St Johnstone.
You still take your gear to the games then?
I still take the gear.
Right,
I still take
you
it.
don't always frisk it. but
How much did it cost us for that guy in the yellow jersey?
I'll tell you, I thought, the only positive for St Johnstone, right, is the fan of a wee diddy club myself. I'll take their angle on this. The only positive last night for St Johnstone was the fact that they got a wee bit extra care-ching simply by giving the 3 stands to the Celtic fans. I thought the minute Celtic scored the opening goal, the referee could have blown the final whistle. I know Tommy Wright had given a wee bit of praise to his team for a bit of fight and a bit of effort the second half, but Celtic had put away the tools by then, and I would just like a bit of honesty though. See for the football fraternity, when Lee Griffiths was interviewed after the game, he mentioned how it's never easy coming to McDermott Park. When Neil Lennon was interviewed after the game, he says St Johnstone always make it difficult for you. Yeah. In the last 9 games between Celtic and St Mirren, the aggregate score is 30-0.
Yes.
It is easy.
Yes.
It's not a difficult place to go to. Just say it. Have a wee bit of honesty.
Absolutely.
Utter guff.
Yes, Tam, I'm with you on that, honestly. I mean, everybody's trying to be PC in their answers and show a bit of respect. Sometimes you just need to leather someone or
in terms of being
tell the truth.
PC in your answers twice last night, innocuous mistake, but both the commentator and then the post-match interviewer get Cham and Edward mixed up, mistaken identity.
Well, all I would say to that is to err is human. We all make
absolutely
mistakes. And listen, on that point, I have to tell you the God's honest truth in defence of anyone who does that. Roughie, I walked into Kilmarnock the week before, and Neil Lennon sat down, and I went, Lee. I had a nightmare, and then after that it just went from bad to worse because I called Christopher Julian. So we all do it. Never mind. That's the learning curve. Over and above that, the one thing we did get right last night was is Olivier Ntcham leaving Celtic? The manager had a short shrift on that one.
He's not going anywhere. Listen, the last thing I want is good players going out the door. It's, if anything, we'd want to bring players in, but that's a difficult thing to do. So I understand I had a joke with him after the game. I said, "Have you done enough for the cameras and that? You showing yourself out there." But he's played so well. He's played a lot under me, and you can see why. And I thought tonight he was just terrific. Not just his goal, but his all-round game was very, very good. So, but as far as I'm concerned, as far as we're concerned, he's not going anywhere.
They were blistering last night. Lee Griffiths, game by game, starting to look sharp again.
But again, the evidence, Peter, is there. He needs somebody up aside him. It's just not working for him when he's up there himself. He'll do a power of running, but he's not as effective when he's got a quality player alongside him. And I was looking at the game and going, what a difference that makes. And I'm hoping Stevie Clark's looking at it and saying, look, home game against Israel, I need to find somebody to play up front with him, because if he gets somebody to play up front with him, I think we've got a chance.
And I like the way you say somebody to play up front with him. Stevie Clark the other day there said that he knows 9 of his starting 11. I would love to think that Lee Griffiths is right down there, and you know what? As a Motherwell fan myself, I look at Lee Griffiths through my tartan tinted specs, and for the way that he's really come back onto a game since coming back, banging in the goals, and even the kind of goal that he's been scoring. I mean, that one last night, it was the technique and it was brilliant. And even what I loved as well, the way that the header chance that he had that just flashed by the post. You could tell that there was a player that knows what he's doing with stuff like that. It wasn't just getting his head on it and hoping for the best. Yeah. He was trying to place that beyond the goalie. And I'm just hoping that he's just getting better and better and better until we get in there late March and he's raring to go against Israel.
Yeah, of course, Celtic determined to take all 3 points in the game because, of course, they were listening, undoubtedly, the Celtic fans, to what was happening over at Ibrox. But James Forrest is adamant with the 5-point advantage, despite Rangers having a game in hand. They'd much rather have the points on the board.
Yeah, I think if you ask anyone, you'd obviously rather have got the points rather than like have a game in hand. I think it's good to, as I said, we're 5 points clear, and obviously Rangers got a game in hand just now, but I think you'd rather have the points on board, and as I said, we're just going to keep looking to build on that.
I mentioned Rangers. They managed to get 2 goals against Ross County. The downside to it all, Roughie, is the dreaded thing we talked about on yesterday's show. Any injuries is a major worry. Jermaine Defoe stretchered off. Yeah,
well, they'll be hoping it isn't serious. Obviously a calf injury. Could be a week, maybe 2. You know, they'll be hoping it's not any worse than that. But they've got Morales coming back. Morales. I know. Morales.
Yeah, another one.
He's another one. They're in the paper the day, absolutely leathering people. Okay.
Morales.
Yeah.
He'll be back.
NTCHAM. The Celtic player. Did you do that? A wee soft N at the start. Cham.
Yeah. Anyway, here's what Stephen Gerrard had to say about Morelos.
Oh, Gerrard.
No. In general, I'm confident we could add. And then obviously we'll assess the Jermaine situation and go from there. But if Jermaine's not as bad as feared, I'm still confident we could add.
Well, they need to get someone in, Tam. They need backup.
Well, right away, though, the thing that shocked me when we came into the office here earlier, Peter, was I didn't realise that Jermaine Defoe had scored more league goals this season than Morales. So I think that means it's a wee bit unfair for them to say they're a one-man team. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm imagining that even as we're sitting here speaking with the transfer deadline fast approaching, I would be astonished if they didn't go out and buy someone or bring somebody in short term. Yeah,
Ryan Kent's the closest to Defoe and Morelos, and that's 6 goals, Roughie.
Yeah, I think we spoke it again. We spoke about it yesterday. If your strikers aren't scoring, you need quality midfielders who are going to chip in with a fair share. That hasn't been the case, but it'll be interesting to see who it is. Because obviously every time you say to a manager, we bring somebody in the now, somebody that's not getting a game with another team and might take them a wee while to hit the ground running and all that stuff that goes along with it. But it's another name they need on the team list.
What age is Mark Haitley? He used to be the go-to guy for an emergency signing at Rangers. Maybe if you really needed to draft somebody, and I think he did it famously for an Old Firm game.
Well, that's it. They drafted him back in for the game.
Off or something.
I think him and Jackie McNamara were involved in a wee set too.
Well, Mark's still fit as a fiddle. Only eats seafood. You know that about Mark? No, I've not got. It sounds as if I've teed that up for a joke. No, that's why he looks. I think he could go out there and still play for Rangers. Yeah. Stick thin, only eat seafood, and that's why he's always so healthy.
Well, there's even the suggestion that Kenny Miller might be not only stick thin but available to come back to Rangers. Can't see it happening though, to be honest with you. What about Ross County? They put up a valiant fight in the end, succumbed to Rangers at home, and Stuart Kettlewell, not talking about the defeat, had to fend off questions about whether maybe even Ross Stewart could be heading out his door.
We're just keeping him as far away from the place as we can. He's stranded up north somewhere and we've got him on lockdown. There's nothing at all. There's been genuinely no contact with the football club. We know he's been very, very good for us this season, so we're obviously not surprised if there's a bit of speculation in his future.
What do you make of that table, Roughie? Now, it's still a similar look at the top end of it.
Yeah, it certainly is, but I think it's the teams at the bottom, you know, the teams that we all think are on a slide. Kilmarnock, St Johnstone, and it's getting so tight now that Hearts winning at the weekend. Again, the weekend's results will be really interesting, but that bottom six, it's picking anybody.
And the fascinating thing is, Peter, to see if Hearts will go on and keep improving this weekend, or, as we've seen so many times before, and I've seen it with Motherwell down through the years, did they just raise their game? They had Rangers in town last weekend, they had the cameras there, is that what that was all about? And are they going to fall flat again? Or are things starting to click into place a wee bit for Stendhal? It's an interesting one, but the bottom end of that league is fascinating, and again, I never tire of saying it, but God bless the playoffs, it does make the entire leagues right through Scotland so exciting.
Yeah, well, Tommy Wright wants to get players in at St Johnstone. Hearts, I think Daniel Stendhal will still try and do a bit of business, Roughie, so up there at McDermott Park again, it could be interesting. I fancy this is the turning point for Hearts. I can see them going up to McDermott Park and winning.
Yeah, I think they've got the quality to do it. As Tam says, St Johnstone will fancy themselves, you know, being up there, you know, and it's always a difficult place to go, as we know, for Neil Lennon. And
it's a very difficult place to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's the other, as the flip side, it's suddenly they're going for the hotbed of Tynecastle, the live game against Rangers, who are second in the league. Stephen Gerrard's in town, blah blah blah, and then they go to McDermott, which famously is not quite as noisy or as boisterous as Tynecastle Park. So that's a true test for Hearts to see how far they've come just in the back of that 90 minutes against Rangers.
Yeah, elsewhere, third and fourth, still interesting. Interesting because obviously Motherwell are in the box seat, but Aberdeen, because they're not in third place, are getting a fair bit of criticism. Certainly the manager's under a bit of pressure if you listen to some of the fans, but Tony Docherty, his assistant, is having none of it. This is what he had to say about some of the Dons fans. Everyone at the club finds that hugely disrespectful. Some people in the game should know better. He's not just a manager with a proven track record, but a manager that has shown real loyalty to this club and its supporters. We've had correspondence from people saying they were embarrassed by it. There is an anger about that. It is disrespectful, and it is something that I know will drive Derek and the rest of us on. I think we need to put into perspective that it was a minority of fans. There is massive support out there. Yes, we're going through a period just now where we need to take responsibility for getting more points on the board. But for the narrative to be the way it is just now, I find it totally disrespectful. I think he's 100% correct, Roughie. I think some Dons fans, and remember, some of these fans that are shouting that, some of them young, not a brain in their head.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you to a certain extent, but fans being fans, you're getting beat at home against Motherwell, you're then spending a few bob to come all the way down for Aberdeen to Love Street, you're seeing another poor performance. All right, it's a minority that travelled to that game, but they've got every right to complain. I can see where they're coming from with the results they've had over the years and that, but it's the now they're complaining about.
It's not complaints. It's not complaints. It's abuse, Roughie. It's abuse.
Well, that's what supporters are like.
Yeah, if I don't know if there wasn't any personal abuse or anything like that, it was the minority, as Tony Docherty says, wanting Derek McManus out. For the outside looking in, you know, of course it does strike me as being wholly ridiculous when you look at what Derek McManus has done over the piece at Aberdeen, and when you maybe think about the exciting things that, you know, hopefully for Aberdeen could be around the corner with Dave Cormack taking charge of that. But I don't think it's fair to just say, oh, it was just a minority. It was a minority of an away support who had travelled the distance of Aberdeen down to Paisley after a home defeat to Motherwell, spent a fortune to get down there. So, you know, I don't think you can just disregard these guys and say, their opinion doesn't count. Well, but I would never tell fans of another club, you know, how they should behave, how they should react to managers. We've all been there and done it. If your team's going through a bad spell, the guy in the dugout absolutely gets it, you know.
Yeah, moan.
But maybe Tony Docherty hasn't looked at the bigger picture, because if they punt Derek, Tony might get a wee caretaker gig, win a couple of games and he gets a 3-year deal.
Have you heard of loyalty, Tam? There's no
football.
No, not with Tony and Derek.
Jason
I know them.
Cummings all night for Shrewsbury was patting the badge. I've always been a Shrewsbury supporter. What was all that about?
I'll take that point, but Tony and Derek are locked tight. I don't think there would be treachery there. Although I would suggest one thing to you, Roughie. This abuse is an annual event. They always have a sticky patch, Aberdeen. But Derek...
Wait a minute. In the current climate, I don't think you can call that abuse. Derek get to F. I don't think that's abuse. When we talk about some of the stuff it's we've seen over the past few weeks, fans versus the players. Here we are still, 25th anniversary.
Well, maybe
Eric
I'm in his camp.
Yeah, I know. I don't think it's abuse.
I think the thing is, it's loads of things. It's Rangers been back. It's Rangers now been 2. It's Motherwell now been 3rd. And now they have to deal with, at this moment in time, they're not the second best team in Scotland. They're 4th just now.
Yeah.
And that's what's annoying them.
I'll tell you one thing, Roughie. This is the great thing about it now. It's taken a wee bit of time, but he's settling in. He's fighting now. He's coming out, battling. That's what we like about it now. He's starting to really enjoy himself.
I'm a wee bit uptight because Brexit is fast approaching and I've got my passport to dig out for next season. And I don't know any implications. I don't want turned back when we're just about to get in there to play, Atletico Madrid.
Don't hold your breath on that. Anyway, we'll settle it like people from Motherwell do. We are going to film it out in the car park. We'll see who's still standing. Apart from anything else, great to have Tam on the Thursday. And I would suggest to you, if you do get a chance, across all our social media, give us your thoughts on Twitter, Facebook Live, Monday to Friday. We are obviously taking your questions. You can put it to the panellists and they'll react to it. And let's not forget YouTube every day. Thank you very much to the ever-growing audience we've got on our show. Every day, Monday to Friday on YouTube. And the one thing I would suggest to you is don't miss the podcast. Andy McLaren, the former Dundee United player, comes into the studio and it's released tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the morning. You can get it across all the audio platforms that you can listen to podcasts. And of course, if you want to watch it, you can do on our YouTube channel. It is a great listen from Andy and some great stories from Roughie and of course Tam as well. So with that in mind, all I have to say now is thanks to Roughie, thanks to Tam Cowan, from myself, Peter Martin. Thank you for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.